Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share, so let's begin. I felt like some kind of pervert stalking my wife. It was depressing that I had to resort to such measures, but it had to end sometime. For the last few weeks, I knew something was going on. I didn't want it to be true. I didn't want to find out, but I had to. Sherry, my wife of 8 years, was showing all the signs of infidelity. All the little things never added up but kept eating away at me. I checked the obvious things like phone calls and emails and came up with nothing. Although we had no kids, Sherry wanted to be a stay-at-home wife. She spent most of her days making stained glass ornaments and window pieces. She seemed happy, and I was okay with it. I used my law degree to open a small strip mall law office. I wasn't a big-time exotic trial lawyer. I just handled things like bills, title transfers, no-fault divorces, and other mundane legal matters. The most exciting aspect of my profession was providing bail services to one of the local motorcycle clubs. I didn't provide the bail. I just worked between the bail bond company and the club to ensure everything went smoothly. On the rare occasion legal representation was necessary, I passed referrals to a friend who handled criminal cases. In return, he sent a lot of small, unimportant jobs my way. Everybody benefited. Today, Sherry let me know she was going shopping with her friend Mary Jane and asked if I wanted anything while she was out. For some reason, I decided today was the day I would either make an ass out of myself or find out something I didn't want to know. I sat in my car as Sherry arrived at Mary Jane's house. After about 30 minutes, Mary Jane came out alone, got in Sherry's car, and drove down the street. I had a GPS tracker on the car, so I didn't bother to follow her. About 20 minutes later, a guy pulled into the driveway on a new Harley-Davidson touring bike. He was dressed like a biker, but something felt off. He walked straight into the house without knocking. I got one clear shot of him before he went in. I waited for about 10 minutes and snapped a few good photos of the bike and its license plate. A half hour later, I was at the Parkview Plaza looking for Mary Jane. I ran the plate number on my way to the mall. Mary Jane was relaxing as best she could on one of those plastic chairs in the food court. She jumped slightly when I sat down beside her with my coffee. "John, you scared me. What are you doing here?" I tried to make myself comfortable, which was next to impossible. I didn't answer her. I just sat and sipped my black hot coffee. I never could get excited about those fancy new drinks they called coffee. She looked nervous. I laughed to myself as she squirmed in her chair, trying to figure out how to handle the situation. I decided to let her off the hook. "Relax, Mary Jane. I know where she is, I know who she's with, and I know what she's doing. I don't care anymore." She put her hands to her face. I waited for more, but nothing came. I was expecting a whole string of cliches. "Tell her to stay at your place. I'll have all of her stuff sent over later. Any questions?" She just shook her head as I left. The meat pit started as a barbecue restaurant, but ended up as a hardcore biker bar that just happened to serve great brisket. It wasn't what you'd call a family place. They did good business on weekends with straight folks, but the weeknights were rough. Hector Turpin handed me a cold long neck as soon as I walked in the door. "Welcome to our home, counselor. We don't see enough of you." It was midday, but at least 20 club members were enjoying the ambiance. "Do we have a problem, counselor?" "No, you guys are all fine. I have a bit of a dilemma, though." Hector and I had a small roundtable discussion with a few other members. It seems that Terry Evans was a weekend regular at the PIP. He was one of the wannabes who liked to think he could fit in. They immediately recognized the bike and his picture with a big grin. Hector told me everything would be taken care of. I didn't want to know anymore. There was still plenty of daylight, so I headed for home. An hour later, I had all of Sherry's clothes and personal items carefully packed in black trash bags. I was amazed I could get them all in the car. If she wanted any furniture or appliances, she would have to get with me later. Her car was back at Mary Jane's place, but she never came out of the house. I put all the bags on the front porch and quietly left. I saw Mary Jane watching me from the window. Sherry never called. No messages, no emails, no excuses. I had to make another trip to deliver all her stained glass hobby supplies. I just set them on the porch again. I made up a simple divorce and had her served. She signed all the papers while the server waited. Was there remorse? I'll never know. Was there regret? I'll never know. Do I give a damn? Hell no. I got drunk that weekend. I arrived at work Monday morning and discovered there had been a break-in. Nothing was taken, but a large pickle jar filled with nuts and bolts was sitting on my desk. I immediately grabbed my phone. Hector, lunch at Red Lobster at noon. My treat. Of course, I had to leave a message. No way was he up that early. He ordered the fisherman's platter and ate 2 orders of cheddar biscuits. Do you want to know, my friend, or would you rather I keep you in the dark? I'm good, Hector. Tell me every detail. The dude came in around 4. 2 of the guys started chatting him up and invited him to shoot some 8-ball. He was ecstatic because he had never been included or even noticed before. We skipped dessert but ordered coffee. My main man Butterball took 2 of the prospects outside, gave them a toolbox, and told them to totally dismantle his bike. All the nuts, bolts, and screws had to go into the pickle jar. They didn't have to take the engine apart. It took them almost 3 hours. They brought the pickle jar in when they were done. We got a refill on the coffee. The guy suddenly stopped playing 8-ball and walked away. Butterball's old lady Kiki walked up and whispered in his ear. He looked around and slowly made his way to the door. He took one look at the pile of parts where his bike had been and took off. The last we saw, he was getting into an Uber. So I am now the proud owner of a do-it-yourself Harley kit. Hector had to stifle his laugh. By the next morning, almost all the other parts were gone. What did she say to him? I'm not sure, but I think your wife's name was mentioned. The rest of the week was routine. I had the divorce paperwork filed, and now all that was left was to wait. 90 days was a long time. I still had no contact with Sherry. I missed the companionship, but could not accept the alternative. To kill time, I called Mansano Automotive, where Terry Evans worked. He was no longer employed there and left no forwarding address. A friend at the local law enforcement office said no report had been filed concerning the damaged bike. 2 weeks later, I ran into Mary Jane at the mall again. It wasn't planned, just an accidental meeting. She was sitting in the food court with a cup of coffee. I don't know why, but she looked a bit depressed. Do you mind if I join you this time? I asked. This time, I didn't shock her. She simply smiled and nodded. We didn't speak for a few minutes. Finally, she let out a little sigh. John, I am sorry for screwing up your marriage. You didn't do it. She did. But I helped her. I went out of my way for her. She asked for my help, and I couldn't turn her down. She was my only friend. We sat quietly for a few more minutes. Is she with him now? I asked. No, she moved back to Frackville with her parents. He just disappeared. One day he was here, and the next day he was gone. Was she upset? Oh, she was upset about losing you, but not at all about him. I guess my next question should be, why did she do it? But you know what? I don't want to know. Thanks for your time, Mary Jane. I think I saw a small tear as I was leaving. It was a slow day at the office. 2 more weeks until my divorce was final. I was trying to guess just how many nuts, bolts, and screws were actually in that pickle jar. I couldn't help wondering what Kiki whispered in that guy's ear. I guess I'll never know. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories like this. See you next time.